So the kitchen and the den now connect via this hallway to the front of the house. And what you have here, it's going to take some imagination to figure it out. I'm Stephanie Bruno, and we're sitting on the front porch of my house in uptown New Orleans. It's a great old house. It's called a raised center hall villa or cottage, built probably in about the 1870s, though I haven't done all of the research on it. It's the house I grew up in and the house I'm raised my children in, so it has a lot of emotional meaning for me. I think front porches are one of the great things about old houses in New Orleans. They were meant as outdoor rooms, places where people could escape the heat and visit with neighbors. I love my city. I love its physical characteristics. And most of what I do in one way or the other is devoted to preserving and protecting that. About 8 years ago, I started writing freelance articles for the Times-Picayune, thanks to Renee Peck, who invited me to write stories about historic houses that were on everybody's radar. And I did that for a while, and that segued into more kinds of stories with the Inside Out section that she was the first editor of. I'm still writing for that section, but now I'm best known probably for my column called Streetwalker. In my mind's eye, I could see what this rundown building at the corner would look like if it were restored. It would have a balcony across this side where there are those long openings. That's probably what was there once upon a time. This on the bottom level was probably a little corner grocery or something like that. Make a great place if you're an artist to have a studio. It seems like there's an endless supply of interesting blocks in our city to report about. And whenever I talk to somebody on the street, I get a surprise. So I know that the articles are something that touch a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of emails from people who used to live on the block, say 30 or 40 years ago, who will tell me all about what it was like growing up on that block. I think that houses have spirits. It sounds a little corny, but I think they do. And I think you can often, if you tune in, you can sort of feel the house when you visit it. So this is the kind of thing that I do a lot of. In the olden days, when I worked at the Preservation Resource Center, we were always renovating the worst houses in the neighborhood, the most blighted, the ones that hadn't been lived in for 10 years. This house had been continually lived in, but it had no maintenance done. And so it was in bad condition. And as I said, the structural issue was much worse than we thought. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. The man next door's house has been vacant and blighted for a long time. And partially because of us complaining to City Hall. He was already in the works to come up for a hearing, but he has come up for a few hearings, I'm happy to say, and they've given him a timetable on which he has to repair his property and make it look good on the outside. And that's a real plus, because that was one of the unknowns when we bought this house, was what if we get our house all beautiful and we still have a vacant, blighted house next door? I'm often asked what my favorite neighborhood is, and honestly, this is not a joke when I say it. It's like asking a mother who her favorite child is. She loves them all equally, but not quite the same, and that's really how I feel about our neighborhoods. Esplanade Ridge wins the award for Creole neighborhoods that still retain many of its grand mansions. The Irish Channel wins the award for being the blue-collar neighborhood that still has a blue-collar feel to it. Broadmoor, which was built in the early 20th century, wins the award for having the most interesting raised basement houses and other early 20th century revival styles. Gentilly Terrace wins the award for having the most elaborate craftsman-style houses in the city. If I had my dream come true, I would be street walking all over the United States It would be a television program on what channel I do not know. And I would be helping people see the amazing things all around them that every day they take for granted or drive by at 35 miles an hour and don't see. I would be the intermediary to help them be able to see those things.